That's right, POWERSTROKE. 7.3 POWERSTROKE diesel. You guys have recognized this one if you watch my videos. Speaking of watching my videos, hit that like and subscribe. We have actually gotten this channel up to about 360 subscribers now. I'm really happy with that. I never dreamed we'd get that many, but hey, I like to see it grow. So if y'all like to see these Ford trucks and everything staying on the road and want to see more of my videos, like and subscribe. I'd sure appreciate it. Super Diesel 4x4 is a 96 F250 POWERSTROKE. I've done a couple of videos on it so far, so I won't go into great detail here, but today, just a simple oil change. It's definitely time. Actually, it's a couple hundred miles past due. We're gonna dive in, change oil real quick. Shouldn't be a long video today, but maybe you guys are not quite comfortable tackling something like that. Really simple. About anybody can do it with just a wrench and a drain pan. So be prepared. Have a big drain pan, because this sucker holds 4 gallons of oil. That's 16 quarts. I use a Motorcraft filter, FL 1995. I do use Walmart brand SuperTech oil. Some might say, well, why don't you use Rotella or, you know, one of the bigger name brand oils? Honestly, I've had really good luck out of the SuperTech oils. I've run them in everything from my dirt track race car to my pickup truck to my diesel, and it's done really well for me. The 2 things I look for on the oil: is it virgin oil, meaning has it been used before and recycled, or is it brand new oil? This, of course, is brand new oil. Does it meet the manufacturing recommended specification service spec? It does. And I guess 3 things. And is it made in USA? So this fits all of those, and it's the best bang for the buck. So that's why I use the SuperTech oil. 16 quarts of 1540 SuperTech diesel oil, 1 FL 1995 Motorcraft filter, and a very big stinking drain pan. Don't use a little drain pan you'd use for your Ford Ranger or Honda Civic, because it will likely overflow. So without further ado, we'll dive in. We got our big drain pan. Make sure you pull the vent so that it doesn't push out the center when you're draining. Definitely make sure you remember to open the center. Set that to the side, don't lose it. And then when we take the filter off, we got little rings to set it on while it drains. So slide your pan under the truck. Your drain plug is going to be right here, center of the oil pan. On mine, it's a 3/4 inch socket. I think most of the POWERSTROKEs would be a 3/4 as well. Get your drain pan lined up, because once it starts coming out, it'll come out pretty fast. Do not drop your drain bolt down into your drain tub, because that sucks. And it'll take a while, because you'll have to let 16 quarts of oil drain out. All right, now that it's slowed to just a little teeny tiny stream with a drip every once in a while, it's about all it's going to get down to. You can push your drain pan out, catch it with a rag, wipe it off a little bit. Be prepared to stick your bolt, drain bolt, back in there. Make sure you don't cross thread it. Once you get it started, I always wipe around it with the rag. Tighten her back up. You don't want to over tighten this. There is a torque spec, but usually about a grunt is good. I promise, when you do your filter, it's going to be heavier than you think. You'll think, oh, I got that. And then you'll thread it off and thread it off and thread it off. And when you think you got it almost off, and the least expect it, she'll pop off in your hand and dump all down your shirt and shoulder and everything else. I promise, I've been there. So don't let yourself get complacent. Go ahead and slide your drain pan up under the filter while you're unscrewing it, because chances are you're not going to catch it like you think you will. Go ahead and let some drain off. I got the pan under it. you are going to get a little oil on your hands when you do this, I promise. And once you get a little drained off, you can go ahead and do it by hand, but the more you loosen it, the more oil is going to come. So I've had this one running for a little bit, so oil's a little hot. It will burn you if you're not careful, so I'm loosening it a little more at a time, letting it run into the pan before I grab it again. Yeah, mostly it's drained out. And when it comes loose, it's going to flop down because it's all covered in oil. Probably splash a little bit. Pretty hard to avoid that part. I've done it several times and I still tried and missed. Just be ready for that. Told you that was going to happen. Well, there you can see, even though I've had this truck for 10 plus years, done countless oil changes on her, it still splashed a little oil when I got the filter off. Thankfully, I did have the filter housing directly above the drain pan, so it landed in the drain pan. Right up there is where the filter goes, of course. So I'm just going to let that drain just a minute, get some oil dry here down on my floor, and get my drain pan out so I can put the new filter on. But again, sometimes it just makes a little bit of a mess. Sometimes I get lucky and it doesn't do that, but most of the time that filter is covered in oil and it slips out of my hand just like it did. Lands right in the big drain pan, thankfully. But hey, if you've got a trick for how to do this 7.3 oil change without getting any oil running down the filter, I'd be all ears. Because I've been doing them for over 10 years on this truck. And it's still quite the trick to catch that filter and not let any oil run down so you don't have to try to handle a slippery filter. But anyway, what do you guys think? You want to take your new filter, FL 1995 Motorcraft, get your little oil out of your new jug, run it around that rubber seal, make sure it's good and soft so it'll seal good. Then, this is, you gotta be careful with this step. You want to, the filter is where the oil first reaches your engine and stuff. So I always pour the filter, not completely full, but I'll give it a head start. I always pour, if you pour it to where you can see it, by the time it seeps through, it won't be as near as thick or tall in there. So I always pour it. It's up to probably about right here now. And that way you got a little room to angle it to get it started. But I do pour some oil in the filter to start with, so that it's got a head start of that engine picking up oil when it first fires up. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's down about right there, about the label probably. Got the light on, hopefully you can see here. On four-wheel drive, it'll be right past the drive shaft there. All right, there it is right there. And I'll get that mated up straight, make sure it's not cross-threaded. It should find its way pretty easily. Spin on pretty easily. How tight? Well, you want it tight enough that it's not going to come off or leak, but not so tight that you can't get it on. And as big as this is, as big as my hands are most of the time, just a good hand tightening is good enough, but I've got some trouble with my hands here lately, so I'll tell you, I'm going to put this wrench on here, give it just a little bit more. All right, that was the hard part. Easy part's just filling her back up. Always pull the dipstick, wipe it off. Here's your fill right here, as indicated by the engine oil fill. Nomenclature on top. You don't have to use a funnel, but inevitably it's going to be harder to hit that tiny fill port than you think. So I try to use a funnel, especially when you're pouring 1 gallon jugs instead of single quart jugs. And I always try to be as careful as possible and not spill any down the valve cover, because below the valve cover is an exhaust manifold. And exhaust manifolds tend to get pretty hot, and motor oil tends to be pretty flammable. I'll let your mind wonder as to what can happen if you get a bunch of motor oil down on the exhaust manifold. Ask me how I know. So I'll do this 4 times, and that'll be 4 gallons of oil. All right, let that drain down a minute. Pull our funnel, cap her back off. Now we start it up, check for leaks. Fire in the hole. Alright, so we fired it back up. Sounds good. Took a minute for the oil pressure to come up. It always does. Right after an oil change, well, not a minute, 5 to 10 seconds. Take a peek underneath. Make sure you don't have any big leaks. Specifically around the coil and the filter. Everything looks good. It's elevated just a little bit with the front wheels up here in the garage, so I'm going to roll it out in the grass and check the oil. Alright, so with the front end of the truck up in the garage, it was a little bit of a slope to the rear, but it's pretty level right here in the grass. Rolled it out here, shut the truck off. Give the oil just a minute to drain down. We're going to go ahead and check it. Alright, it's been sitting a minute. I'll wipe the stick off real good. Drop it right here in the tube. Let's see what she says. Yep, I am sitting directly on the full mark. I don't know if you can see that or not. Right there, which is dead on full. So I'm happy with that. No leaks. Sounds good. Oil pressure's good. And she's ready to go another 10,000. I don't know what the book says. I think it probably says like 7,500 or something, but I figure 4 gallons of oil, a good filter. She's good for 10,000 miles. That's what I've done for the last 200,000 miles in this thing and not had any trouble. So I run about 10,000 on a change. And when my odometer rolls 10,000, I know it's ready for an oil change. So whatever works for you, but Super Diesel 4x4 is ready for another road trip. Thanks for watching. Rusty Relic Revivals, keeping them on the road.